The Ukrainian army has launched a counteroffensive in the Sumy region. The first settlements have been liberated. Ukrainian drones attacked the base of intercontinental missiles Areshnik, a powerful attack on Crimea. Russian fighter jets and air defense systems have been destroyed. China is advancing. In Russian schools, Chinese will be taught instead of English. Azerbaijan and Russia are close to war. Tensions are rising. Just a few moments. Trump does not forgive things like this. They want to deport Elon Musk to the Republic of South Africa. Hello, my name is Katerina Pahalchuk, and right now, here are the main stories. But first, like this video if you support Ukraine, and subscribe to our channel so we don't lose each other on YouTube. It seems that Russia's summer offensive has completely failed. Moreover, despite all of Russia's efforts, Ukraine is carrying out its own counteroffensive in the north, in the Sumy region. This information has been officially confirmed by the General Staff. The armed forces of Ukraine are already reporting the liberation of the first settlements.
Our troops are holding the line. Along the designated line, they are carrying out measures to prepare for and conduct counter-offensive actions to push the enemy back. As a result of successful actions, the settlement of Andriivka has been liberated. In addition, our units have advanced in the area of Oleksiivka, pushing the enemy away from Sumy.
The General Staff has also shown for the first time a map of the front in the Sumy region. On the 30th of June, the map conditionally marked the Russian advance with arrows, and on the 1st of July, the territory captured by the enemy was highlighted in red. In the northern Slobozhensky and Kursk directions, the armed forces of Ukraine repelled 17 enemy attacks. Additionally, on the 29th of June, a gray zone appeared on the deep state combat map at the border of the Zaporizhia and the Dnipropetrovsk regions. In some areas, the enemy advanced more than 800 meters deep. This led to reports of an alleged breakthrough by Russian troops into the territory of the Dnipropetrovsk region. However, the Operational Strategic Group of Forces Khortytsia denied this information.
There is very intense fighting in the villages located near the administrative border of the region. The same goes for Yalta, Komar and Shevchenkova, but they are holding the defense there.
The military also report a difficult situation in the Zaporizhia direction.
In the Zaporizhia direction, the enemy has indeed become more active and has brought in reserves. The main activity is observed on the Kamyansky-Orykiv section. In some areas, there are minor static advances without the threat of a large-scale breakthrough.
However, Putin is not abandoning his plans for conquest. Moreover, they are intensifying each time. The Financial Times reports that Putin plans to occupy Odessa and cut Ukraine off from the sea. And right now, this is his main goal.
The publication noted that among European politicians, few believe that Russia is willing to agree to a ceasefire. Some NATO leaders also fear that the situation on the front line could seriously deteriorate by autumn. According to military assessments, both Russian and Ukrainian forces are approaching the point of exhaustion. However, Russia will likely be able to maintain its current level of operations for another year, while Ukraine will depend on new military support, the article states.
But regardless, Ukrainians are also managing to improve their technical development of drone interceptors. And here, at last, a real breakthrough has occurred. This means that the so-called Shaheds will soon have much less chance of reaching their targets. According to the Minister of Digital Transformation, Fedorov, this breakthrough could fundamentally change the situation.
Thanks to the collaboration between Western and Ukrainian scientific communities, technological advances have taken place that Ukraine had been unable to achieve for several years. The real results can be assessed within 3 months.
The minister did not specify exactly how this technology works, but I hope it will be effective because honestly, we've really had enough. Returning to the summer offensive, which many experts consider a failure for the Russians, let me add this. According to the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrskyi, in the month of June alone, the Russians lost 32,500 of their soldiers at the front. Give a like to support the Ukrainian soldiers who are heroically holding back and destroying the Russian army, which outnumbers the Ukrainian armed forces by several times on all sections of the front. They are truly doing the impossible. Write a few kind words in the comments. I know they're watching us. On the night of the 1st of July, it was loud in the territories temporarily occupied by Russia.
The third one. Look, do you see it? There it is.
In particular, drones attacked the temporarily occupied Luhansk, Donetsk, and Crimea. The Center for Countering Disinformation reported that Russian logistics were on fire in Luhansk, while OSINT and analysts suggest that that night's strikes targeted drone production, electronic warfare equipment, and an oil depot. Also in Crimea, Telegram channels report that the headquarters of the 8th Combined Arms Army of the Russian Armed Forces was on fire in Donetsk. And there, as reported by the Russians themselves, the commander of that very 8th Guards Army headquarters, Colonel Garyachkin, was killed. In addition, I would venture to assume that many officers of the Russian army were nearby with him. Natanya, please step away from the balcony, for God's sake. Russian media reported 4 strikes, presumably from Storm Shadow missiles, on the railway junction in temporarily occupied Donetsk. It was also tense in occupied Crimea. Their expensive air defense systems, including the Pantsir S-1, were destroyed by strike drones. Several radars as well. A Su-30 fighter jet was also destroyed at the Saki airfield. Russian cities were also under drone attack, including Saratov, Engels, Rostov and Taganrog, Novoshakhtinsk, and certain areas of the Rostov region. The city of Izevsk was also shaken considerably. This is the capital of the Russian Republic of Udmurtia, located 1,300 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Oh Lord, my God, why not? There, drones attacked the local Kupol plant, where Tor and Osa air defense systems are produced, and where drones for attacks on Ukraine are also assembled. Among these, of course, are Shaheds. There were also reports of missile threats in Astrakhan, where the Kapustin Yar testing range is located, which houses intercontinental missiles, including the Oreshnik. In short, the night in Russia was quite loud. The defense forces operated precisely, accurately, and on a large scale. This time, in addition to drones, missiles were also used against the enemy. And judging by the Russians howling on social media and the commotion, the Ukrainians really made an impact there. So we await official statements from the general staff, and in the meantime, thank the defense forces for their work and accuracy. Powerful strikes and, on top of that, problems with oil. The Russian tanker Vilamur, part of the Kremlin's shadow fleet, exploded in the Mediterranean Sea. According to preliminary estimates, the vessel was carrying at least 1 million barrels of crude oil. According to Ukrainian intelligence, this happened on the 26th of June. The ship is now being towed to Greece to assess the damage.
The incident occurred while the vessel was en route from the Libyan port of Izet Zuatina, 150 kilometers to the northeast, from the territorial waters of Libya. The tanker was sailing under the flag of the Marshall Islands and was loaded with at least 1 million barrels of crude oil. As of the 1st of July 2025, a firefighting tugboat under the Maltese flag, the Boka Summit, is towing the vessel damaged by the explosion. The Shadow Fleet tanker of the Russian Federation is heading to the Laconian Gulf in Greece to assess the condition of the vessel.
It is said that the Vilamur has been repeatedly used to transport oil products from Russian ports. In 2025, the vessel was spotted in Russian ports at least twice. I hope that such an explosive fate awaits all vessels of the Russian fleet, and especially the military ones. Like this, if you want the same thing. Even if they don't want it, Russia is paying for its crimes in Ukraine. As part of the ERA initiative, Ukraine has received another $1.7 billion. These funds come from frozen Russian assets. Ukraine received the money from Canada, as announced by Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Together with our partners, we are making Russia pay for what it has done, for its crimes and destruction. Since the beginning of the year, including the latest tranche, we have received about $17.6 billion from frozen Russian assets. I am grateful to Canada and everyone involved in this program.
But according to the head of the Ukrainian government, these are not all the good news. Ukraine has received $500 million from the International Monetary Fund. This is already the 9th tranche from the IMF, and it will be used to cover priority budget needs.
So far, under the program, the fund has already allocated $10.6 billion to Ukraine. I am grateful to the IMF for its ongoing systematic support, thanks to which we maintain our resilience in the fight for freedom and continue rebuilding the country.
We thank our partners for their support. It seems that the international scandal between Russia and Azerbaijan is only beginning to gain momentum. So what exactly is the scandal about? A few days ago, Russian law enforcement detained about 50 natives of Azerbaijan in Yekaterinburg. They were detained in connection with an unsolved criminal case regarding the murder in Russia of Azerbaijani citizen Yunis Pashayev, which occurred back in 2001. So the main suspects in this case are the Safarov brothers. Shortly after being detained, they died. Later, Russian law enforcement claimed that the detainees simply fell ill. Later, due to the death of the detained Azerbaijanis in Yekaterinburg, Azerbaijan cancelled all cultural events involving Russians. In addition, the visit of the Azerbaijani parliamentary delegation to Moscow was cancelled. But again, in Moscow, they stated, quote, "The work of law enforcement agencies should not be a reason for demarches." In Azerbaijan, they are not responding to Russia's attempt to pretend that nothing happened. Later, in Baku, 2 agents of the Russian FSB who were working undercover at the propaganda agency Sputnik were detained. It was later revealed that the executive director of Sputnik Azerbaijan, Igor Kartavik, and the editor-in-chief, Yevgeny Belousov, were detained. In short, it's a scandal, and things are getting serious. In Azerbaijan, Russia is officially being accused of repression and imperialism, while in Moscow, Baku has started to be called a Russian city. Events, it must be admitted, are developing quite rapidly, so we are keeping an eye on the situation and will tell you everything in our next episodes. Putin often boasts about his friendship and strategic partnership with Chinese leader Xi Jinping.
These relations have reached the highest level in history. They are self-sufficient and do not depend on internal political factors.
Meanwhile, China is becoming so deeply involved in Russia that in regions bordering the Middle Kingdom, schools are already teaching the Chinese language. Moreover, this cultural and linguistic expansion is being permitted by the government. This refers to the Ministry of Education of the Amur region, which has ordered the creation of entire Chinese language classes.
In the context of the global transformation of the world, economy, and considering the increasingly important role of the People's Republic of China as a key economic and geopolitical partner of the Russian Federation, recognizing the importance of the labor resources and human capital of the People's Republic of China for ensuring sustainable growth, security, and social stability in the region, as well as for the purpose of consolidating the educational space and establishing the ideology of interethnic unity, I hereby order. Consider it a priority to launch, starting from the 1st of September 2025, a regional educational program aimed at integrating students who are children of families of labor migrants from the People's Republic of China into the education system of the constituent entity of the Russian Federation.
These Chinese classes will begin operating as early as the 1st of September of this year. And the talk that the Chinese are being introduced, if not by order, then by recommendation of the Kremlin, seems to be true. Because Russian wealthy people, or rather even the elite, have started hiring Chinese nannies for their children.
In the houses on Rubliovka, Chinese-speaking nannies have taken second place in popularity, surpassing French-speaking ones. This was reported by the founder of a company that provides nanny services for wealthy Russians. For now, English-speaking governesses still hold first place. But the demand for Chinese nannies is growing so rapidly that it can hardly be met.
And this, according to the New York Times, is just one aspect of the Sinicization of Russia.
After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, China became the Kremlin's best public friend. Even though some Russian officials still harbor deep suspicions about Beijing's intentions, China has provided diplomatic support and has been buying Russian oil and gas. Chinese leader Xi Jinping met with President Vladimir Putin. At the Kremlin, both of them smiled warmly for the cameras. China has also helped replace Western consumer goods that Russians can no longer buy due to sanctions. All of this has contributed to a growing craze for Chinese products and culture throughout Russia.
Now, the main question, is the interest in all things Chinese just a gesture, a token of Putin's gratitude to Xi Jinping, or is it a repayment of debt for support? What do you think? Write your thoughts in the comments. We, and not just us, have repeatedly talked about the consequences of Donald Trump's decision to cut funding for the USAID program. Among the most serious consequences are the halt in the search for and research into an HIV and AIDS vaccine, as well as the cessation of assistance to those suffering from these diseases. For these illnesses, but in addition to fighting HIV and AIDS, USAID also funded the treatment of tuberculosis, malaria, and many other diseases. Now, this particular thing is gone, and that in itself is certainly not new. It will cost lives. The leading medical journal The Lancet predicts that over the next 5 years, about 15 million people will die due to the reduction in funding programs, a third of them children.
According to predictive models, the current sharp reduction in funding, combined with the potential dissolution of the agency, could lead to over 14 million additional deaths by 2030. On average, this would amount to more than 2.4 million deaths per year. These deaths include 4.5 million children under the age of 5, or more than 700,000 deaths annually.
The numbers are horrifying, especially when you realize that over the 20 years of US aid funding programs, 91 million lives have been saved. Trump seems to be seriously angry and ready to take action. After billionaire Elon Musk was dismissed from the White House and a quarrel broke out, passions between Trump and his former advisor continue to run high online. Even public apologies did not help. After a brief lull, Elon Musk once again began criticizing Trump's laws and threatened to create his own party.
Every member of Congress who campaigned for cutting government spending and then immediately voted for the largest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame. And they will lose their primaries next year, even if it's the last thing I do on this earth. If this insane spending bill is passed, the American Party will be formed the very next day. Our country needs an alternative to the one-party system of Democrats and Republicans so that the people truly have a voice.
It's not that Trump was scared, but the president's self-esteem was hurt, so he started making threats himself. Trump says he will leave Elon Musk's companies without a cent of government subsidies and they will go bankrupt. In that case, Musk would have to return home to the Republic of South Africa.
Elon could get far more subsidies than anyone in history. And without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close his stores and return home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a huge fortune. Maybe we should ask Doge to take a very close and careful look at this. A huge amount of money could be saved.
In addition, Trump stated that he would consider the issue of deporting Elon Musk from the US. When are you going to deport Elon Musk?
I don't know. I think we'll have to see.
Let me remind you, earlier, one of the high-ranking Russian officials claimed that Musk had requested political asylum in Russia. I have just one question. Is this really a continuation of the quarrel? Or can the hints about leaving America be seen as part of Trump's fight against migrants? A Ukrainian Su-27 fighter jet on a remote control, of course not defending Ukrainian skies, but in the private collection of an American inventor. The man likes the Ukrainian fighter so much that he made a radio-controlled mini version of it. This Su-27 cost $25,000. Over 6 million viewers on social media have already checked out the models. You should check them out too. There you go, there you go. Like this video to support what we do. And be sure to subscribe to our channel Ukraine Today so you don't miss the next episodes. See you soon.